It's a very secretive industry, and the smelters don't tell you their inputs, and a lot of the metal that miners produce is in the form of concentrates. So, and then there's no smelting capacity in North America. So all this concentrate from the West, like Peru, Argentina, Mexico, even North America, like Canada and the United States, there's no capacity to refine that or to smelt out that concentrate. So all goes to Asia. And then once it gets into Asia, it's hidden. There's no reporting. No one knows how much metal they've got, what they're holding. They don't export the metal; they keep it themselves. They use it for their own industries, and it's this kind of mysterious kind of number that just is out there. And so the mining sector tries to estimate supply demand, but it's almost impossible to do that. We know from our perspective as a mining company, there's no resistance for our product. It's a world market, and we don't have a workforce, we don't have a sales force. It's a 5-minute phone call, and our metal's gone. Where it goes, well, that's your guess as good as mine.
Keith Neumeyer opens with an explosive revelation. 2 billion ounces of paper silver are traded every single day, despite the global mining industry producing only 830 million ounces annually. The leverage and disconnect between paper and physical markets are staggering. For Neumeyer, this is not just an anomaly, it's a direct threat to the integrity of the silver market. That's why he founded his own mint. By pushing First Majestic Silver's production through this proprietary pipeline, Neumeyer is removing metal from the grip of the banking system. In 2024, 5% of production went through the mint. By Q1 2025, it rose to 7%, and the goal is 10% by year's end. Ultimately, he wants 100% of his company's silver production to bypass the commercial refining and banking systems. Why? Because every ounce diverted removes leverage from the banks, disrupting the very system that suppresses silver prices.
That's why I opened the mint, because Andy Sheckman told me yesterday that there's 2 billion ounces of paper silver traded every day. And the miners only produce 830 million ounces a year. So it trades 2 billion a day. So, that leverage is just crazy. So for us to get, that mint up and running and to pull that metal off the market, that metal's not going to the banks anymore. So they don't have that leverage against our metal, which is a great place to be. So you do the math. If we in 2024, we had 5% of our production go through the mint. In Q1, we had 7% of our production go through the mint. Our goal is to get 10% of our production through the mint by the end of 2025. If we can get that even greater than that and get it, I'd like to get 100% of our production through the mint. And, that takes a lot of metal. You can do the math. It's billions of ounces of paper trading that could potentially be removed out of the marketplace because the banks all of a sudden wouldn't have that metal that they're expecting to hedge from. It's a very secretive industry, and the smelters don't tell you their inputs, and a lot of the metal that miners produce is in the form of concentrates. So, and then there's no smelting capacity in North America. So all this concentrate from the West, like Peru, Argentina, Mexico, even North America, like Canada and the United States, there's no capacity to refine that or to smelt out that concentrate. So all goes to Asia. And then once it gets into Asia, it's hidden. There's no reporting. No one knows how much metal they've got, what they're holding. They don't export the metal; they keep it themselves. They use it for their own industries, and it's this mysterious kind of number that just is out there. And so the mining sector tries to estimate supply demand, but it's almost impossible to do that. We know from our perspective as a mining company, there's no resistance for our product. It's a world market, and we don't have a workforce, we don't have a sales force. It's a 5-minute phone call, and our metal's gone. Where it goes, well, that's your guess as good as mine. So they don't get smelted. So that's what's different. Okay, so those are dory bars. So mining companies produce either a dory bar, which is a block of metal, could be gold, could be silver. In our case, it's silver dory bars. So that they'd be 90 to 95% silver, and then there's a whole bunch of other metals, and the gold would be in there, maybe some coppers and lead and zinc would be in that bar as well. But that bar gets sent into the United States, and there's lots of refineries. lots of refineries. And those refineries then spit out 1,000-ounce commercial bars. And then the banks, those commercial bars then get sold into the banks primarily. Our bars, fortunately, some of those bars get sent to Las Vegas, our mint. So we keep those in-house. But, a majority of our silver actually just goes into the banking system. But concentrates is a completely different world. So there's a group of refineries that exist, in the U.S. and Canada, and there's lots of them out there. There's a big competition, and it costs us almost nothing to refine a Dory bar into a pure ounce of silver, because it's a very competitive industry, which is great for us. And but smelters, that's a different world. There's very few smelters around. They're all at capacity, and all the smelting capacity is really in Asia. So Japan, Korea, China, and that's where it all goes. Or majority of our North American production, or South American and North American production, all goes to Asia.
Yet Neumeyer remains bullish. First Majestic operates 3 long-life mines in Mexico, a jurisdiction he praises for its stability and mining friendliness. The company has strong cash flows, increasing treasury reserves, and one of the few pure-play silver exposures on U.S. exchanges. That's significant because there are only a handful of investable silver producers globally, and First Majestic is at the top of the list. While Neumeyer acknowledges the mining industry is risky and complicated, he still advocates for participation, especially as institutional money is circling back to the sector. Pension funds and mutual funds that fled during the commodity downturn are now watching closely. They're not all in yet, distracted by gains in AI and tech, but the tides are turning. His final message is simple: do your research. He recommends investors focus on producers, not just explorers, though he personally still holds some exploration positions for upside leverage. The key is understanding the risk-reward dynamic and recognizing that we're in the early innings of a major capital rotation.
NVIDIA went up $120 billion yesterday. The share price moved in NVIDIA, $120 billion move in one day. That's bigger. That's probably 3 times the size of the entire silver industry in one day. So, it is pretty crazy. I look at the current market, it's very similar to what it looked like back in 2000. And, I just retired from my copper company that I put together in the prior decade. And I was kind of looking around, and I was trading the high-tech market a little bit.
So this is what a retiree looks like after 25 years.
Well, I've been in this business for 40 years, so it's been a while. So I turned 65 this year. So anyways, I remember the NASDAQ hitting 5,000.
Yes, it did.
In March of 2000, right? And I owned a couple of high-tech stocks at the time, which I unfortunately lost money on, but I made money on the run, so I did okay, in the whole scheme of things. But when I saw the market collapse, the NASDAQ went down 80%, from 2000 to 2003. And that's what really lit up the resource market, because all this money had to go somewhere. So it went into real estate, it went into mining, metals, and we saw silver go from $5 to $50. We saw gold go from $250 to $1,800. Copper, of course, exploded. All the metals and all the stocks, like First Majestic, went to $25 a share. By 2011, we were producing 10 million ounces of silver that year, and we were, everything was great. But no one predicted that, the silver price is going to go from 50 to 12, over the next 3 years, which it did, unfortunately. Our stock was, killed like the entire mining sector was as well. And now what I'm seeing is the repeat of the same all over again. And of course, First Majestic has its unique characters and characteristics. We are the purest silver company in the world. We're all in Mexico, which is a pretty good jurisdiction as far as we're concerned. We've got 3 solid long life assets that'll be producing for the next decades into the future, long mine life. So we're and the cash flows there, the treasury's increasing. It's just a great time to be, I think, in the mining sector as a whole. But if you're looking at silver, there's only 3 or 4 silver companies out there, and of the group of silver companies listed in the United States, we're the purest of the group. Well, the industry is another thing altogether. And, I'm on Twitter, Keith_Neumeyer, go to First Majestic website. We got a 1-800 toll-free number there, info@firstmajestic.com if people want to send us emails for specific questions on any topic. But industry-wise, I would just suggest people do their research. The mining sector is very risky. It's very, it's a very complicated business. You're dealing with Mother Nature, and you're dealing with a very cash-intensive industry. And for me, I like to focus on the producers, but I do have some money in the explorers as well, because it's always kind of fun to get that potential leverage, owning a small little explorer that might get an interesting drill hole. So I always have a little bit of money there. But for those less inclined to take that type of risk, because it is a risky part of the sector, go after the producers. And we're right in there mid-tier, and I can tell people that are listening here today that the big funds out there, the big pension funds, the big mutual funds that used to be invested in this market a decade ago, are now all of a sudden starting to relook at this industry. So they're not jumping in with all 2 feet or whatever, but they're still making money on Nvidia and all the high-tech stocks. But I think that there's a whole ton of money that's going to be coming into the mining sector, and I think that's when you start to see the big moves. Stock has done okay year to date, but I think last time silver was at north of $30, our stock is $25. Right? And today the stock is $8 or $9, and we're at $36 silver. So there is a bit of a disconnect, and there's a lot of catch up and potential gains for people that want to jump in. I can't give financial advice, of course, but I personally bought some stock myself just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm all in when it comes to the company and silver.
Please like and subscribe.